Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Thursday and we are going to continue with the reflection in the water pool from the building here. So I've colored in most of the building. I have a couple of areas that I haven't colored in, and I probably won't color in because it will reflect that water color. On the building itself, I'll color that in, but on the water, I'm not going to color that in because we're going to be coloring in the water today, as well as the sky. So your homework and my homework, which I did not get done, if you guys got it done, congratulations, was to, of course, finish off the building in the water as well as up here, and do the surrounding areas. I got busy and life happened, so I didn't get to that, but I will finish this off screen. I'm going to do the water and the sky with you today. The rest of it I will finish off screen and post on the um, album in the Facebook group. All right, so I'm going to zoom you in. I apologize for the lighting. It seems to be a little dark today, but I will zoom you in so that we can see what we're doing. Move you in there, and then we're going to move you up because we're going to be doing the sky. Oh, wrong way, this way. We're going to do the sky first. So, okay. All right, so there we have it. Now we're going to work dark to light. So we're going to start with our darkest color, which is, let me grab my swatch charts here. So this one here is number 33, which is blue Danube in the English version, or the Chinese version. In the English version, it is nautical blue, and the best nautical blue. The best one to use is 143 Cobalt Blue in the Faber-Castells. So if you are using the Faber-Castells, start with the Cobalt Blue. Oh, here comes the choo-choo. It's just a little one. It's not going to make too much noise. It's not going to shake the camera too much. All right, so we're going to start down here. At the top of the building. Now, like I said, you could do this as a sunset and really make it dramatic in the water. You would do the same thing with a sunset coloring. So just use your oranges and your yellows and your reds and do the same thing that you would do with the blues here. Now I'm lightening my hand as I move my way up. Now next week's video will be how to create a reflection in a mirror. I will probably not be using this book for that because I don't think there's a whole lot of mirrors in this book. So I will find something that has a mirror, and you can use it in whatever way that you want to outside of the lessons. Remember to fill in your open spaces here. These here are open spaces showing the sky behind the building. So make sure that you fill those in. Try to keep them fairly even across. Lightening my hand as I get up to the top here, because that's where we're going to blend into. And we'll be doing the same thing down on the water, just with a lighter coloring, because of the fact that the water is going to be over top of it. It is going to make this darker area a little bit lighter, the lighter areas even lighter, and so forth. So you're still going to get the reflection of this color. However, it's not going to be as bright in the water as it is on the sky. Okay, so we've got the top area here. So we've got a little bit back here that we can add. And up through here, up through here. However, there's not a whole lot of that bottom skyline area going to be showing in the water. So that bottom area really doesn't make a difference in the water. Now the next color we're going to use is this one and then this one. So the next color we're going to use is number 29 in the oh, that's Polly's. No wonder why I'm not finding it. So 29 is blue sea in the English. So the old ones is 29 blue sea. In the new ones, it would be 29 slough aster. And in the Faber-Castells, I would say use your light phthalo blue, number 145. That's going to be a bit brighter. Actually, no, use light ultramarine 140, which is going to be a little tiny bit darker than what I'm going to lay down, but it will blend out, it will work. All right, so we're going to start. Oops, I missed an area. I missed a spot in here. So I'm just going to fill that in. All right, then we're going to start over here, and we're going to start down inside of the blue area, and we're just going to bring that up. And blend that dark blue with the light blue. And we're going to lighten our hand as we get to the top here, because we're going to be adding that lighter blue in through here and blending that in. All right, now same thing over here. And then we're going to start bringing that up. We're going to stop short of the cloud area. Using that light blue to blend the dark blue. Or the lighter blue, I should say. Make sure you get into your window areas, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm sitting in a position that I don't normally sit in, because I went to the foot doctor and they said, wear your shoes. I don't like wearing shoes in the house, but the doctor is insisting I do. So then I can't sit the way I normally do because I normally sit on my feet. Now I'm not being overly particular on whether or not there's lines or anything like that because I will be blending this all together with a lighter blue and filling in all those areas and blending it all together. And as you can see, I have not colored these areas here. I did on this side, but I didn't finish them on this side. But that's okay. That is okay. And again, leaving a light area for that lighter blue to blend into. And make sure that we get into the windows, well, into the structure carving out area where you can see the sky behind it. Hopefully these little tutorials are helpful. Like I said, I am not an artist. I am not a professional. I am not a professional teacher of art either. This is just how I do things. And if how I do things can help you figure out how to do them or get better at doing them, then that's the goal of the lessons, is to try to make it easier for you to accomplish and achieve what you want to do on your page. Just trying to make sure I have it fairly even across both sides of the page. Come down through here and blend that. Come down through here and blend this. If you notice, this pencil is not sharp at all. I don't want a sharp pencil for this because I want to cover as much of it as I can and blend into those darker colors. Now, as you can see, the darker color, I used a sharp pencil because I wanted that to be a little bit more, a little heavier, so it cuts into the page a little bit more than a dull pencil, which will glide over top of the page more than cuts into it. Now, if you do find that you have a stark line, you can of course come back through with your darker pencil and just blend that in. Try not to color the birds. And of course, this is just the first layer. You can, if you're using something like Faber-Castells or Prismacolors that have a little bit more of a deeper pigmentation, Prismas are great for doing skylines and stuff like that because you can easily one and done it. The Faber-Castells will require a little bit more finessing, a little bit more layering and blending than the Prismacolor. But this can be pretty much done with any set of pencils that you have. So don't feel that you're not able to do it because you only have this kind of pencils or this kind of pencils. This can be done with any pencils that you have. It's just a matter of whether or not you need to layer them to get that effect, or whether or not you're able to squish them together and blend them. Now I do have a harsh line here, which I don't like, so I'm going to just gently blend that in. Up into there. I'm just going to take this and blend it down. Just darkening up a little bit more. And as you can see, I've got my hand all the way to the back of the pencil. So I'm just doing a very, very light layer of this color, blending it into that other color and getting that depth of color in the lower area. Now this color is going to be used down here. So we are going to come through here with this color. And we're going to come through all the same areas that we used over here and over here. So because this is only showing part of it, we're not going to cover a whole lot of this area, but we are still going to cover that window. And then over here, we're going to come up. The dimension is a little strange, but we are going to come up through here and get that area filled in as well. Now, because we already put some of the watercolor in, when we go over that with this color as well as the next color, it's going to not tamper with or adjust that area. So don't worry too much about that. Don't worry about leaving any white spot in your water either, because of the fact that you are going to be adding some different things. Do not color that part. That is not a part to be colored. So we're going to take our eraser and we're going to erase that. Now this blue line here and this blue line here, of course, are the shadow lines of the edge of the walkway. So when you come through, just blend off of that. Don't worry about that being a hard line, because that's just going to be the line that shows the edge of the walkway. All right, now the next color we're going to use is number 38, which is Daughter of the Sea Foam in the original Brute squares. In the new Brute squares, it'd be 38 Sky Blue and 146 Sky Blue in your Faber-Castells. Now this is going to be our main color. So we're going to come down and we're going to put a little bit of pressure on this pencil. Now I have a bit of a texture on my desk, so I'm hoping that This doesn't pick up that texture. And this one we're going to press a little bit harder and use this to blend and remove that white spot. Now you may not remove all of the white spot. It may take a little bit more of a heavier hand or a blender, but we want to, at this point, eliminate as much of the white spot as we can. So we are burnishing the page at this point and blending all those colors together. Come up under the clouds. Now on this side here, you won't see a lot of a difference in the color change until after we get past the clouds. However, in other areas where there's not so much cloud coverage, you'll see more of a transition from the medium tones into that lighter tone. Now if you do find that your pencil is getting too dull, of course sharpen it. But because I want to cover a heavier area, I try to keep it as soft of an edge, not a hard tip, like a sharp tip, because it will cover that a little bit better and not have such a cutting effect into the paper. And we're going to go around the clouds and we're going to start working our way downwards, because this area here is just going to be all this blue. And then we'll add some white to it when we get closer to the top, just to tone it down just a little bit. Like I said, we'll use the blender and blend those blues together and eliminate as much of the white spot as we can. We can either use the blender or we can use white. The white will change the color slightly. So I think I need a drink of my coffee. All right. Excuse me one moment. I need to have a sip of my coffee. My throat just decided to be congested. It's very weird. So as you can probably tell, I'm covering, but I'm not worried too much about whether or not I've got swirls, whether or not there's lines up in this area here, because I am going to take the Prismacolor White. And the Prismacolor White is one of those pencils that I would strongly suggest that you have in your coloring kit. The Prismacolor White is um, a very, very white. It's one of the best ones for blending and changing the color a little bit. It is also one of the best ones to put white lines and highlights into your areas. So I am going to be using that to blend this area and to lighten it up. Even though the light color is still preferable in what we want to see. The white will just make that just that little bit lighter, giving us a little bit more of a realistic sky coloring. Now we could brighten it instead with the blender, which is fine as well. So if you find that your sky colors aren't bright enough, use your colorless blender and brighten it up. If you find that it's a little bit too bright, use your white and blend it down. Now we'll try one area with the blender and see how that goes and see if we need to put some white to it. And if we need to put white to it, we will add the white. Sometimes adding the white and then using your blender gives you a good transitional coloring. It all depends upon what effect you want it to have when you're done with it. Don't forget inside your windows. All right. And up here as well. Okay. Now we need these two things because, I move things around. All right, so we're going to start down here with the white. And we're going to put a little bit of pressure on it. And as you can see, it softens that color up a little bit. So it looks more of the cloud or the sky color instead of just a bright blue area. Like so. Now, another thing that we can look at is using the blender and whether or not we need to brighten any areas. Like so. So you can also use your blender in the area that you just used the white and blend that together as well. just removing as much of the white spot as I can. And I need my brush. There it is. Another thing that you should always have it handy is your brush. Now we're going to dampen this area down here as well. Blending those colors together. Because when you do something on one side, you gotta do it on the other. You can't just do it one-sided. Otherwise you have a page that doesn't have the same colorations. Now, if you don't want them to have the same colorations, of course, you don't need to do that. All right, now we're going to take our blender. And we're going to blend all that in. I'm going to be very careful with my blender, make sure that I don't go over top of any areas on the building because I haven't finished this part of the building. And make sure I don't go over the birds because I haven't finished those either. Now we're going to come up through here, go the opposite direction of your pencil, and that will give you a fairly good blend. Now the reason why we go opposite of our pencil if we can is to move that pencil into the areas that there is no pencil. So if you have a lot of white spot, take the color from one area, move it into the next. Now if you don't have enough pigment on the page, you will find that it just lifts the pigment up and it doesn't do a whole lot of anything. So in that instance, you would need to add more color to the page. Now I'm finding that that is the issue here. So I'm going to go this direction, which is opposite of what I did before. And I'm just going to put a little bit more pigment on the page in this area. Same with down here. Now, if I was to press too hard on the blender, I wouldn't be able to add too much more color. So when you're doing your first blend, try to make sure that you don't press too hard. And then you should be able to add more color. Like for example, if you look up in this area here, where I haven't touched it with the blender, it's still a little bit brighter than the areas that I have touched with the blender, because the tooth of the page is still available for me to add color in these areas. Where over here, where I've gone over it with the blender, I can still go over it with color. I'm still able to add color, but it's not going down as bright than areas that I haven't gone over with the blender. Basically, what the blender does is it fills the tooth of the page with the wax of the blender, which then you don't have that tooth there for the pencil to grab into. Just brightening that up a little bit more. And then we're going to go over it again with the blender. All right. I should just sharpen my blender, but I'm being lazy. I don't want to sharpen it. So I'm just using the side of it. And unfortunately, the texture of my desk is coming through, but that's fine. It's just giving me a weird blend. It's giving me a weird texture in the sky, but that's how you do the sky. Now, for the sky down here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our lightest color. Now, we're not going to put as much pressure on this. Because we want this to be lighter. We don't want this to be as bright as the sky itself. And we're not going to blend too much into the other areas because, like I said, we don't want it to be as bright as the sky itself. So we've got some wave lines there, which we have filled in previously. And we'll be doing something special with the wave lines. So once we get to the wave lines after we finish with the clouds, you are going to need, you can do this with a white Prismacolor or a white Derwent drawing, but I find that the look that I want, I can accomplish better with an acrylic paint pen and a paintbrush. So if you have an acrylic paint pen, either a Posca pen or that sort of thing, you will need that and a really fine paintbrush, preferably a number 1 or finer. So something that has a really, really thin, amount of bristles. A thin line bristle. If you do not have either of those, that's perfectly fine too. You can accomplish the same sort of look with a white gel pen or a white paint pen, just directly from the paint pen. And I'll show you how on both of those, as well as the way that I like to do it. And we'll be doing that with the water areas. Once we get to there. All right. So we are leaving that unblended. Okay, so we're going to leave that alone unblended. Now we're going to get into the sky and into the cloud areas. So we are going to use our grays. So I've got 26 and 96. 96 is silver gray, 26 is Belgian block in the old. Uh, Why does okay? So White Pagoda Temple. No, White Pagoda Temple is in the original, and 96. Where's 96? Milky Way of and Sea of Stars. So both are the same colors in both the old and the new. So 26 and 96. So we're going to need cold gray 1 and warm gray 1 in the Faber-Castells. Now I know we're using a cold and a warm, and there's a reason for that. So the cold, we're going to go in through here into the clouds, down at the bottom. And we're going to press a little bit harder at the cloud line. Now this one here is behind this, which is going to have a bit of a warm reflection from the gold top. So that's where we're going to use that warm gray, is where that warm reflection is going to be. This one here is also going to have a warm reflection up through here. Same with this one. And this one. This one's going to have a warm reflection at the bottom, or at the top, I mean. And same with that one and this one. So we're just putting in a little bit of the reflection from the gold towers in those clouds, and you cannot see any of that. I'll zoom it in here in just a minute and show you what I've done. And try to just do the, because these are white fluffy clouds in the sky, you know, when you look at a white fluffy cloud, it's got a little bit of gray at the bottom where the cloud is the thickest and the deepest. And that's what we're putting in here, is that little tiny bit of silver lining or gray lining of the cloud structure. once we get the clouds done up here, we're going to move to the clouds in the water. Goodness. And as you can probably tell, it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. Now we're going to take our white. Now you can use your Prisma for this, or you can use your white Brute Funer or your white Faber-Castell. And we're just putting some pressure on it and getting that cloud in there. Now you're sitting there going, why are you coloring white when, it's white paper? Because even though it's white paper, the white pencil does stand out a little bit better on the white paper. It is a little bit brighter than just the paper itself. And once we get into the water, it will be more important than it is up here in the sky. Now we do have to fill that in a little bit more because that's a reflection of the clouds. And I think I need to sharpen my white. My white's getting a little dull, but that's okay. All right, so there we have our clouds all done up in the sky. Now we're going to do the same thing down below with our grays. Now we're not going to use the warm gray, and we are going to use a little bit heavier hand. And I forgot to do this part and this part. Which I will have to finish before we do the water. Now we're going to use a heavier hand on the bottom areas of the clouds. Just remember the bottom area of the cloud is the area towards the building. So even though it looks like it's the top area of the cloud, it is actually the bottom. I know this is probably the most tedious, boring part of it, is just filling in the page. Watching me fill in the page. But with clouds, sometimes you gotta give them a little bit of a silver lining. And since I don't want it to be reflective, I'm just using gray. It's a silvery gray, but it's still gray. Now I'm going to sharpen my white because it is getting to a point where it's not going to give me the effect that I want. Try to maintain a fairly sharp point to your white if you can. White does tend to break a lot, so Prismacolors tend to break a lot. So if you find that your Prisma is breaking a lot, then just sharpen it a little bit. It will wear down quickly. As you can see, I have mine in a pencil extender because it is short. And I don't want to glue it to another one quite yet. Now I am trying to cover as much of the cloud as possible. I am leaving little bits just because we're going to have some water, of course, that's going to show up because these are in the water, they are reflected in the water. So they're going to have a little bit of that watercolor come through. And we're going to start putting the watercolor in as soon as I finish the other towers and parts here that I did not finish. All right. So let's finish this off. I need this one. And we need a little bit of this in here. And a little bit of this. In there. A little bit of this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. So these are just the same colors that I used on the rest of the gold up here. Just finishing it off so that we can continue with the water area. Like so. All right. Now we are going to take this one. So we're going to take number 57, which is green ash in the new ones, mint ice cream in the old ones, and best one for this one. Um, So in your Faber-Castells, there's not really a good comparable to this one. So I would say use your light cobalt turquoise. Just be very, very, very light with it. Or no, your light phthalo green, number 162. Just be extremely light with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to color that area as well because I haven't colored that on here. So we're going to actually color that. And we're going to do it gold. So I'm just going to fill this in. So make sure that all your areas have a little bit of color on them so that the reflection remains true. Some of the areas don't need a lot of color because you're going to see a lot of the water in that area. So now there's stairs that come down into the water. So this part of the water is probably a lot shallower than this area back here. So the water down here is going to show a lot more of the actual colors of the building than up here showing the colors of the sky compared to the colors of the building. So I need that dark gray. Boy, I didn't do my homework at all. I did parts of it, but not all of it. If you missed it, I have been doing some building of a miniature bookshelf house thing. I started that yesterday. And of course, I've got all the other projects that I'm doing as well for the channel. And I'm going to be, moving into a craft room. How long that will stay, I have no idea. My youngest son is moving out for the first time, so if that does not go well for him, of course he will be moving back in, which means that my craft room will go away. Sad, sad. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this very light green blue and we're just going to go very gently putting in bits of the color of the water into the sky colors, into the cloud colors. And I'm not using a lot of pressure. I'm doing a very, very light amount just so that color is in there as well as on the building. Now you can put little striations on the building, on the gold areas, that sort of thing. The lighter areas that are going to show a little bit more of that water. Comparative to the actual skyline. All right. And I'm going to zoom you in just a little bit because you probably can't see that all that well. And we're going to do that. And I'm going to increase the saturation just a bit so that, not that much, that's too much, so that you can see a little bit of that green in there. Now there's not a whole lot, there's just enough that it doesn't look like the sky. Now we're just going to put in a little bit more. Like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in the water wave movement. So we're going to grab our acrylic pen. Where did I put it? I lost the acrylic pen. Where'd it go? I have no idea what I did with the acrylic pen. I had it. Uh-oh. I lost the acrylic pen. I have no idea what I did with it. Huh. Interesting. I will have to find... Oh, there it is. Lost my acrylic pen. All right, so we're going to move all these over here and put them all back in the cup. Now, because these are square, I can't put them in my pencil holder because the pencil holder is made for round pencils, not square pencils. So they fit in a lovely little square cup. And then I will put them away properly. All right, after I'm finished the page. All right, so I've got the acrylic marker, and I'm just going to put a drop of it down there. Now you can do this with a gel pen, you can do it with an acrylic marker, you can do it with a white pencil. Now with the white pencil it's not going to show up as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow, I'm going to show you with the gel pen first. We're going to follow these lines. And do that. Now with the paint, it's going to be a little bit easier with the paint pen and a paint brush because you can fill your brush. And you can get a little bit more of an area. So you don't have to just stop with a thin line. Now you take a clean brush and you can move it around a little bit. As long as you do it while it's still very wet. And it gives it that blurred out kind of look in that area. Now we're going to do the same thing over top of here. And we're going to come into that area. And we're going to try to get to it as quickly as we can. And blur it out a little bit more. Same with over here. And what that does is it takes it and blurs that out and gives us that soft, watery look that we want in that area. like so. Any areas you find are still showing really dark, and those dark black lines, you can go back over them and soften them out. It softens out the water area and blends that water area into the sky so that you're not looking at the sky, you're looking at the water with the sky reflection. Now, if you do this with a gel pen, you are going to get this harder line, like down here. Now you can probably scrape that up and soften it that way. But you're still going to have a bit of a harder line if you go directly from the paint pen or directly from the gel pen. You're not going to be able to soften it up as well than if you use a brush and then use a second brush to break it down. And then down here, and just down here. In here. And all right. And there we have our water. So I'm going to zoom you out, recenter you. And then we're going to zoom out. So as you can still see the duplication between here and here. However, it's been blurred enough that you can tell that this is water. Once this is dry, you can go through and remove any clumpy areas if you need to. But as you can see that that is a reflection, that that is not a actual thing, you know. That's not the real one. This is the real one. That's the reflection. All right, so that is it for this lesson. The reflection of this in the water is almost perfect. However, it is going to be blurred out. It's not, water does not reflect the same as a mirror or glass or that sort of thing. Water is fluid. It's moving. It's even a breeze will make it ripple. So that's why I went through with the white paint and created that ripple, created that blur throughout the water. All right, so the rest of your homework, of course, is to finish off your edges here, as well as your sky and, you know, the rest of the picture. If you do finish it off, please do post it in the My Coloring Corner Facebook group. There is a special album specifically for the tutorial, so please post your finished pages in that album. I will post mine there as well so you can see it finished, and hopefully next Thursday we will have a picture of a mirror or something with a mirror in it where we can add that reflection. All right, guys, with that, thank you all very much for coming and hanging out, for watching. I hope that this has been helpful, if not a little bit messy. Of course, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. And of course, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye for now.